contract with bid as in you come in and do the project, right?
Mm-hmm.
Well, then the
Trying
state
to absorb
says,
and learn.
no, you can't do anything
You never
in
stop.
our right of way until
Because things
blank
change,
date.
you know, sometimes.
That's where that came from.
Regulations.
So it costs a couple $1,000 more.
Well, it's a mobilization, because they're gonna be done with everything else and have to come back and do that.
Oh,
And because we did all of the boring, you know, so all that's done, and now they're gonna have to come back and redo some stuff that they otherwise could have just done, but the state would permit them to be in that right of way during that time period.
what was their reason? Did they? Give
It's
them a
just a
good
matter
reason?
of, you know, they don't want anything happening in there because they can't maintain it this time of year.
Greetings,
So
gentlemen.
You can't go back and.
Was this your first day in the new seat?
I get it. I mean,
No,
to a
I was
certain
here
extent,
last
I
month.
understand.
Oh, that's
And
right.
part of it's like, if it's such a
Even
small
teased you.
factor,
I must not have
but
been harsh
again,
enough
if
on you.
someone hits potholes and blows out their tire.
Thanks.
on the
You're
state,
welcome, we're thinking about you.
yeah.
You were a
So
little
it's-
bit recognized mayor.
Well, they
Say
call
what?
the mayor, the mayor's like, "Oh, that's the state." That's where it was
Right,
like,
so I
And then they call it.
Yeah,
There's a new sheriff.
All right, gentlemen, welcome, everyone.
Oh,
You too, George.
thank you. How are you, Tim?
I'm excellent, thank you.
Are you gonna have a stand up?
In a minute, when I call the
Yeah.
meeting to order. Second. Are you ready?
As much as I'm going to be.
All right, get your pencils ready. We're gonna go like crazy here. All right, I'd like to call this meeting to order. Everyone, please stand. It is our tradition. Face the flag. Pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. All right. We shall begin with the approval of the minutes of the last meeting. You should have that in your board pack. Were there any additions, corrections, adjustments required?
I didn't see any. Looked good to me, so I'll make a motion that we accept the minutes as presented.
I'll second.
George makes a motion to accept as presented, and Mike seconds that. Any further discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for the vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, nay. Motion carries. The minutes are approved as presented. We will now move on to the March claims. And there have been a few additions that are not on the original board pack. In fact, there should be 3 of those. Okay.
Yeah, so a couple of claims, A&Z Engineering, the amount of $2,584 is for ongoing engineering work on 300 North and 200 West. We've got Westler, amount of $897.60, which is ongoing engineering work for the Airport Road Lift Station project. We've got professional services from Baker Tilly. This is for a number of projects, so it's kind of split up, but just to kind of give you we requested that they look at all of our TIF districts and just do bonding capacity analysis for us that I gave you, I think, last month. So that was like $12,645. They did some initial assistance on northern residential and the southern residential work. Both of those were a little over 2,000. And then we've had some conference calls on Owens with them on a mixed-use project. So those services amounted to $18,170 for that work. I've got a couple of Times Union invoices, $170 for subscription.
I did not see that in the board pack. Were those? Anybody else see them?
Yeah, that's
I
right.
see it.
The
The
Times
170? Okay.
Union. Yeah, so
I
this-
saw the 143, but I
This is our subscription to the Times Union. We do a lot of meeting notices in the paper, so.
yeah, but I just didn't see it. Yeah. There was a voucher, wasn't a voucher in the, was there?
170.
170, yeah, you got it on
Yeah,
yours.
yeah, that's right.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I'm sure.
it was in
Okay.
there.
All right.
Yeah.
Emmons Engineering for the lift station on Corridor Drive in the amount of $360. Recorder's office for recording some documents associated with Anchorage Road, parcel 5, $75. And then the add-ons are Graycraft signs. I had requested that they do tenant panel signs out at the tech park. So we're actively putting up tenant panel signs for Mentor Media, Med Artist, Banner Medical. I'm still trying to get a hold of Patrick Industries to get theirs done, but so that was in the amount of $1,448, and that is for 6 signs, so we'll be front and back on those 2 wayfinding signs. Warsaw, or Matthews Warsaw LLC, and we're gonna talk about this, so if you want to hold off on approving this one until after we talk about the Economic Development Agreement amendment, we can do that, but I wanted to get the claim presented to you today as well in the amount of $159,574.31. And this is, will go along with that amendment to our development agreement with him. And the last add-on was Times Union in the amount of $43.44, and every year the Redevelopment Authority has to advertise their annual report, which I don't know if you have the publisher's claim, but it gets published in the
It's on
paper.
there.
So that's what that $43 is for. So those are the claims.
Okay. Why don't we hold off on approving the claims until we discuss, go ahead, if I can, if you allow me to jump out of the order of the original agenda. I'd like to talk about the Matthews LLC agreement, which is intricate to the claim as well, because it's in that agreement.
Yes.
Correct.
Yeah, so
So
we
let's,
can,
if it's all right with the members here, I'd like to jump to that first. Make
Makes
sure
sense.
everybody's okay with that agreement, because that is intricate to the claim.
Okay.
All right?
Makes sense.
so
All
we can
right, let's
either,
go ahead, just if you would, please, under new business, the Matthews
yep,
uh,
we can go right to it.
claim, Matthews Economic Development Agreement.
So we talked about this about 6 months ago. I presented to you an amendment to our original economic development agreement. This would be the second amendment to that economic development agreement. At the time, I presented pretty much this language outside of what we hadn't negotiated, which was the cost to the city for amending our agreement. And by cost, I mean there was work that was done, and in discussing the work that was done with Matthews, we came to an agreement of that $159,574.31. And that work included the demolition of the property, both phase 1 and phase 2 environmental study that was done on the property, and then there was a little bit of lead paint and asbestos remedy that was done during the demolition. I don't have that list in front of me, but that was a smaller piece of the overall cost. But those were the 3 things that we agreed to pay for, and those costs were the $159,574.31. He did send me all the invoices associated with those costs. I did contact those entities to make sure that they were paid for the work that was done. Hence the reason why I'm presenting to you the claim in that amount as a part of this amendment to the agreement. It is my recommendation that we approve this amendment to the agreement, which in essence removes him from the mixed-use development on Buffalo Street. It does not change the phase 1, which is the townhomes and the Muse. That would still be under his purview to complete. but the mixed-use building would be removed and we would seek another developer for that project.
Okay. Just to clarify, those three, the demolition, the EPA, and the lead and asbestos
Abatement.
abatement was, those were the three that make up the 159,
That's correct.
the 159.
Yes.
Then there were also other items that you negotiated with and did not agree to pay for. Is that correct?
Yes,
That
we
was
are
in
paying
his
for
request.
work that was done that we would have had to do regardless of whether or not the property was developed by him or not. So if we did not have him as a developer, we would have had to have completed the demolition, removed any asbestos or lead as part of that demolition, and done a phase one and phase two, which would allow us to present that to future developers, which just reduces the cost in the future for us to partner with someone to develop that site.
So those are generic to any developer.
Yeah, and just to give you an example, Arnold property, we paid just close to $200,000. That was $180-some thousand we ended up for the demolition of the Arnold property. That was our contribution, along with about $500,000 in EPA grants that we worked with the state and the federal government to clean up the environmental. GACI project that'll come before you in the next month will have similar demolition costs associated with it. The Owens site, I think we were around 200-some thousand for that demo, 250, 230-some thousand for the demolition of that building. All done and paid for by the city fund.
Just wanted to clarify those types of things.
Yeah, I think Redevelopment General paid for the Arnold demolition, I believe, last year.
But
So-
specific to Matthew, these are things that would have to be paid for.
These are things that have value to the city that were done and would have value to us on any project that we would do.
And they'd be of value to any
It's a
new
value
development,
for any
new
development.
development.
Because they don't have the demolition costs, and talk to the environmental firm, and they will put those phase one and phase studies in our name. So as soon as we finalize this
transfer
agreement,
those.
they will transfer those. We finalize this agreement, we will pay him for the services he did complete that are of value to us, and we will seek out a new developer, and we'll have those phase one and phase two transferred into the Redevelopment Commission's name.
Okay. Thank you. I just want to make sure everybody understood those points. Now, is there any other questions that you
Did
want
the
to
city
address?
attorney, I assume, did the agreement? Or did you have?
Randy did.
Oh, Randy did, okay, good. I assume.
Randy wrote it all.
Yeah, almost everything you see will come from Randy. Occasionally I'll have Scott do some things, but Scott primarily would prefer to have Randy do anything redevelopment commission wise.
Kind
Just
of
because
outside
that's
his area of expertise.
yeah, and that's Randy's area of expertise. So.
Exactly. And we've used Randy for many years.
Yes.
Yeah, long done.
Okay?
All my questions have been cleared up.
As we discussed, yeah.
Same here, I'd say.
We did discuss this offline a little bit, just to clarify, so
Yeah,
And
we were all educated on.
And Matthews has signed this agreement. I sent it to him this
That was my
morning.
next question, too.
I sent it to him this morning. He signed it and sent it back about 15, 20 minutes later. So we have his executed signature. So if you are to approve this, I'll have your signature, and then the mayor will sign it, and it will be completed.
I think the important points here is that the property is shovel-ready. There is a precedent that the city has, or this commission, this board has set with numerous other properties that if we can find a developer, it's good to go. We've done it with others. And what we're paying for is what we're reimbursing the original developer for. He has indeed paid all those bills, so we'll have free and clear title.
That's correct.
Okay.
It makes it more attractive. I like how you said that.
Plus, it's a
Something
very
to be done.
it's an attractive piece of property
Yep.
to a new developer as well, being close to the lake down there.
Steps that need to be done, they are done. Makes it more attractive for future development,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
Yeah.
oh, yeah.
Thanks,
yeah.
Mike. Now, what do you want to do, though, just point of order here? Do we want to go back up to the claims? How do you
I'd
want?
go ahead, and I would like to approve this document,
The agreement.
the agreement first, so that we
I
have a
think you have
basis. So then we have a basis for approving the
The claim, the 159.
That's acceptable to everybody on the board.
okay. I just wondered why you wanted to do that. Okay,
Okay, yep.
good.
Okay,
Yes.
anything else before we move ahead? Any other questions?
Just a quick question, how many homes and use does Matthews have left to build, construct?
I think there was around 30-some total, and he's built 7.
7 to 30?
Well, he's built 3 townhomes, 4 MUs, and I think there was somewhere around 30 total.
But, David, that has nothing to do with this.
It has nothing to do with
That's
the
phase
mixed use.
one
Yeah.
on that side of the street, phase two is on that side of the street. And we're talking about phase two. Just in case.
This particular area is on the east side of the street.
Where the water company used to be.
Yep.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You got it.
Yeah.
Good point. Thanks.
Yeah, good point, yeah. Okay.
So if there are
Any
no other questions, I would make a motion
Okay,
that we accept
Agreement.
the amendment to the original development agreement as presented today.
okay, Mike makes a motion to
Is
accept.
that the way to
it.
put it?
Yes, exactly.
Okay.
The second amendment to economic development agreement with Matthews as presented.
Second.
Jeff makes motion to second that. Any further discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for the vote. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries to approve the second amendment to economic development agreement with Matthews as presented. Okay, now we can go back, let's go back to the
Claims.
redevelopment claims and we have already included the Matthews amount in the claims. Or are there any other questions about the claims themselves? And the Matthews.
You want to do all the claims under one
Yes, as
acceptance?
presented, because they were all presented as one group.
So I would make a motion that all 4 claims reviewed today be approved by this board.
All four?
Little
All
more.
four.
Well, the list.
Times Unions, Matthew, Graycraft, and, well, the March claims. That
The March,
includes-
yeah.
That
March-
includes a lot of numerous.
March,
Right.
I show 9 different claims.
Yeah.
Is that? Yeah.
Yeah, the
Oh,
list,
sorry.
I got 3 extra.
9.
Going back? Okay. So we actually have 9 claims in the March claims. They were all identified and explained by Jeff, or by,
So you want me to
Jeremy?
restate that, all 9? I said 4 because it was under 4
Yeah.
orders of business, but
If you
one
would-
of them
yeah.
included numerous
March.
claims.
you want to amend your,
Sure.
I see what you're
How about we just approve all claims as presented?
There you go.
all March claims?
And I will second
There you go.
that.
Now, yeah, George
George,
understood that.
boy, if George understands it, we're good.
Thanks.
Okay. We have fun with this, don't we? Okay. We have a motion by Mike and a second by George to approve the March claims as presented. Any further questions, discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for the vote. All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed, nay. The March claims are approved as presented. I knew this was going to be fun. Okay, so next on the agenda is I believe is the change order. Is that
Yes.
correct?
Yes. So change order number 1 for the Northern Lift Station project is an amount of $174,312.99. And there is an attachment A that lists those change changes to the contract in addition to the expected cost of those changes. And I say expected because some of them are estimates, so and it really depends on how much trash they remove, and it is weighed, and they'll have their tickets for what's being disposed of. So it's a per unit cost. So they've estimated X amount at that unit cost, so it could be lower, it could be higher. It just depends on what the final comes into. As they've been digging the gravity line that will connect to the airport terminal, there was a section along there that used to be an old dump, trash site. So digging in that area has pulled up numerous trash that cannot be reburied. It has to be hauled to a certified landfill, and so we are doing that, and this bulk of this change order is that cost. Now, there are some there's some site dewatering operations that had to be solved once the project was let, because we didn't have a discharge point, so that was $17,000, roughly a little over $17,000 for that. There's some time extensions that were added, a lot of it doing with NDOT and the ability to do work in their right of way, and some of it dealing with ability to get equipment. We still don't have a good idea of when we might end up getting a generator. Some of those generators are 6 to 9 months out. So it's just, some equipment are still hard to get right now. Same thing with powering up that lift station. We may have to use one of our mobile generators to run that lift station, depending on how fast those homes get built, because even some of your electrical equipment that we need, that the electric company needs to do to install the meters and the boxes, some of that stuff is just got ridiculous wait times, 12 months. Hopefully we get them sooner, but there's some time costs associated with that. There's some smaller changes, like interior bowl drop. The way that the drop is being designed was changed, $15 change order. The sand backfill is associated with the trash removal, so as that trash is being removed, we need to backfill it. So there's some additional backfill that wasn't, usually you backfill with the same material, you backfill with a gravel, 2-foot gravel or so seam where the pipe's laid, and then you just use the same material you dug out to backfill. Unfortunately, we have to haul this material off, which means we have to replace it with something. That's where the sand backfill comes in. And then additional limestone for the undercut in the amount of a little over $6,000. So all of that combined is roughly $174,312.99 in change orders. And I'm not guaranteeing that this will be the end all. It may be less or maybe more. It just depends on how much trash we have to remove.
So they're not finished with the trash.
They had estimated the entire distance. We didn't think it was the entire distance, so we shrunk it down to about 50%. So this is about 50% of that distance from where they're at now to run to the airport terminal.
And they were not aware of this trash being in there at the time of the contract?
They were definitely not. We may have been, but it would have been hard to quantify it anyhow until you get into it.
You didn't know exactly where.
We didn't know where it was. We didn't know if we would hit it. We knew that Nick at the airport had made it clear that at some point there was a dump out there, but we didn't know what status it was, how far it was, where it was exactly. We had a pretty good idea, and based on what we knew, that's kind of where they've hit the trash so far. So we feel like they will get out of the trash at a certain point. That's why we cut it off kind of at that 50% mark.
Okay. So if they don't haul out as much trash, they'll
It's a unit.
reduce it, and
Yep, it's
if
based
they-
on a unit cost. We've agreed to a unit price cost for that trash haul away. And then there's tickets that will be from them hauling it to the dump that we'll have to verify those costs.
which could also have an effect on the sand.
It'll
Backfill.
definitely have a amount of sand that gets backfilled. The more trash we have to haul off, the more backfill we have to bring in. Right now, we feel like we're kind of at that bottom edge where when they're digging, they're getting out of it. So they're digging out of it, so we don't have any issues with compaction on the pipe. That's where the undercut comes in. So if we're not digging out of it, we'll still have to dig down deeper to get enough compacted base to get out of, so we're not laying a pipe on trash, basically.
So that's
With
where
that
the
trash-
limestone comes in.
Yeah.
The trash is 2/3 of the whole cost of this change order.
Well, they gotta dig it out,
Yeah.
load it in a truck, and truck it to a landfill, so yeah, and then pay to
600.
dump it.
600 to load, I think it
Yeah.
turned out. It looked
Yeah.
like it was, that's what
So
they
they haven't found any treasure
No, we haven't.
darn, to offset some of the,
No pot of gold.
Okay.
Dig.
no valuable antiques.
Nobody's been looking either.
Well, I went out to the airport last week and they had that road closed. They had a crew out there, man.
Yeah, maybe an antique water heater or two.
Yeah.
10% increase, 1.7 million, 174. And then there's 2 months, right? 2 months added to the project that's not cost.
Yes.
Item 1.
Yeah, it's not
To
necessarily a
630.
cost. The only real time cost has been the NDOT, which is item number 5, Sayreville tie-in. Due to their permit restrictions and additional mobilization fee, the $2,800 cost of that.
Okay.
That's out of our control.
And the site dewatering, was there, did they run into a spring or something, or is that just weather related?
No, it's more, so dewatering was in the contract. What wasn't specified in the contract because we didn't know how much or what direction was, when you're dewatering, you're pumping water out of that ground, but you gotta you gotta send it somewhere, right?
Yep.
So what wasn't in that contract is where we were sending it, because we didn't have a good idea how much water was gonna be pumped out. So once they started to do the groundwater set, they knew how much volume. We initially thought we might be able to just push that water down like we did on the airport industrial park project, where it was just basically went in the drainage ditch, but there was a ditch that was probably 300 yards away from where we were doing our primary dewatering at. There is no ditch 300 yards away, and the amount of water we were pumping out of the ground to set the lift station was too great just to push down the swale that was there. And it being an airport, and not wanting waterfowl and all that, we ended up giving the easement and pumping it a little further to a drainage area that it would get to that drainage ditch, and that was the additional cost.
Did we secure an easement?
We did not, they did.
They did, okay.
They secured the easement to do the work. Since they're the contractor, it's not on there.
Very good.
That was the additional cost.
Okay. Any other questions about this?
No. I'll move we approve the change order as presented.
George moves to approve the change order as presented. Do I hear a second?
Second?
Jeff makes a second on that. Any further discussion?
The trash could come in lower.
It could. I mean, it really just depends on how fast they run out of it, how big of an area it is. I think we're probably going to be right on the fringe of where it's at, so
Okay.
we might be a little higher, a little
Best
lower.
guesstimate.
So this was an estimate.
But we cut it off where we felt like the trash was going to be running out, so I'm guessing it's going to be pretty close to what's in here. Hopefully, knock on wood, it's not further than that.
We hope so.
Otherwise, we could be up in 250,000 or more to haul that trash out of there.
And we hope you're wrong.
I won't.
But we'll see. We'll deal with that when we.
Either way, it's
we get it.
immaterial. The airport terminal needs sewer, their septic is failing. There's only one way to get sewer there, and that's to run a pipe, so no matter where we run the pipe, that past landfill's in the way, so we gotta dig it out one way.
One way or the other.
It's gotta go.
Okay, any other questions? Okay, we have a motion and a second. Call for the vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Change order is approved as presented. Okay, the financial report.
So this
I want
is-
an explanation on all 119 pages.
Yeah, I'm not going to, but certainly if you want one, you can stay after class and get one now.
Oh, boy.
Every year we do the financial report. This is the financial report for 2023, which is a report on the Redevelopment Commission, the Redevelopment Authority's actions in 2022, including their budgets, the amount expended, and the 2023 budget, the financial plans for each district laid out with the projects that we hope to tackle and accomplish. That includes the Northern TIF District, Winona Interurban, the residential, South Residential TIF District, and Northern Residential TIF District. I also include the tech park in here, even though it's not a TIF district, and then the central TIF or the redevelopment allocation, the downtown TIF district. So this report encompasses all of those. It goes, like I said, it goes through the money we spent last year, the projects we completed, the revenue we received, the balances for the end of 2022, and is a good tool for us to use when we start budgets in June of this year for 2024. And it also has a 2023 budget in it. At the very end of the document, it goes through something that was added a few years back, the impact of TIF on overlapping tax agencies, so you can see a report that's associated with this. This is in draft format. The intent would be to present this to you at our next meeting in April. I think we have to have this presented by April 15th or 16th of every year. So we'll present this at our next meeting in April. At that time, there'll be an advertised public hearing for all the public tax agencies. Will be notified of that report and presentation. So if you have any comments before now and then, please let me know. If you want to sit down and talk about it, please let me know. We can do that. We can make any changes to it, and it will go out to those taxing agencies before the April 16th deadline.
And this report is as of 12/31/22.
That's correct. It is a report based on what the Redevelopment Commission accomplished in 2022. Other than based on the state statute, it does require that we include budgets for 2023, so the budgets for this year are in this report as
Right.
well.
Which we passed in 2022.
That's correct.
And as usual, Jeremy, it's well put together and wonderfully laid out, so great job.
Thank you.
I can testify that that is a lot of work.
Yeah.
And they keep adding to it.
Yeah.
No, actually, it's a good exercise to do, period, because it keeps
yeah.
me focused
What have we
on
done? What do we need
what
to
we're
do?
doing,
What do
what we
need to
have
do?
accomplished, where we're going, what we need to accomplish. And then at the same time, it sets us up perfectly for our 2024 budgets. You can see our balances, you can see the expenditures, you can see the projects that we're doing. Now, being a redevelopment commission, things change, right? So we never fully know. We know what projects we want to, and those go into a list, but those projects may be moved out or moved up, depending on what happens. We're talking to, 3 or 4 developers now on projects that could change what we do this year. So a lot of those things are yet to come. Like the GACI project's a prime example. It'll be before you hopefully next month. We've just completed RFP on the Owens property. So there's some work that will be done in the next 2 months on that as well. So a lot of projects in the works, a lot of projects that'll come before you in the next couple of months. So we're flexible, easy to make changes when need be, but certainly still have a plan for what we want to accomplish.
And it's a really good view from a high level standpoint of all the different operations that we are involved in all the different TIFs.
I know you've had this for a few days, so if there are questions and you look through it and you did say, hey, I saw something, I'm more than happy to take it now and answer any questions you might have. This will be presented at a public meeting in April.
Jeremy, if you have the ability to do it, will you please email that to me in an attachment?
Yes.
It'll be easier for me to get and read that 30 pages.
I can do that for all of you, so
It'll just be easier.
if that's
for me.
easier for you guys, I can do that
Yeah.
rather than,
I'll be able to read it better the first.
and I can send it in a Word document or a PDF.
I asked for a hard copy.
I send an email out. If anybody wants a hard copy, we can get you that too. I have one here that you can actually have, an extra one. We got a couple extra ones. In the past, I had printed them off, and then I think some of you said, I don't need them. If as long as it's in the library, that's good. But if there's anybody that wants a hard copy, we'll print them off. I'll primarily just print this
30.
copy off. It's required that we have all the parcel list included with the report,
Right.
but it doesn't do anybody any good to stare at a bunch of parcel numbers, so
Yeah.
I'll just print the report off for you if that's.
PDF would be great if you emailed it, I could read
I
it
can
better on
send
my
it out
phone.
to, I'll
Yeah,
send,
just
I'll
send it
just,
to
I'll just
everybody
send it
on
to
your
everybody, that
list.
way you have it.
Thank you.
Yeah,
That'd be great, thank you. No additional charge.
So, yeah, if there's any questions you have, if you look through it and you saw something, certainly I can answer it now or over the next month if you're reading through it and you see something, feel free to give me a call, shoot me an email. And then, like I said, the intent will be, I got to get an advertisement out yet this month for our April meeting.
What kind of motion do you need tonight?
I don't need anything.
First reading, nothing?
That's
Okay.
just basically for your information. You get to
Okay.
review it for a month. Let me know if you have any comments, if you've already reviewed it.
Okay.
And if you saw something, I'm here to discuss that.
Thanks, Jeremy.
Okay. Any questions
On this?
on this particular document? Yes.
Not right now.
Okay. I thank you very much for that. As I said, that's a lot of work.
Assessor council, Jeremy.
It is
Well,
you,
we're-
actually. And this is just kind of an FYI thing. I know some of you have been before me talking about marketing tools for retail. So I did discuss an option for us with this company, this consultant called Retail Strategies. I don't need you to approve anything now. I want you to review it, look through it. The intent of this is kind of a combination of a citywide retail market study, but we can certainly have them focus on some areas and maybe some interests as well. But the intent was they would complete the market study portion, the retail market study portion, which would be give us kind of all that information, all the statistics. At the end of that, they would identify a list of retail establishments to go after, and we would get to say yay or nay to that list that they present to us. And then they would actively go out and seek those businesses to look at locations in Warsaw. This is a 3-year contract. I don't say any dollar amounts because I think there is some ability for us to negotiate a little bit with them. I don't think it's going to change a whole lot, but if you actually read through, there's actually 2 different amounts. One, they give you one amount in the original portion, and then the contract that they give you is another amount. So, point being,
That's in this paper?
yes.
Okay.
Point being, is I think there is some room to negotiate, but it is going to be an investment on our part to do this.
Okay.
But like I said, I've been approached by numerous council members and other members who have wanted us to take a more proactive approach to marketing. So this is an opportunity to do that. And the intent would be we would pay for this out of the Redevelopment Commission. So I haven't identified where we'll pay for it out. We might pay for it out of a combination of Northern TIF and the Central and Redevelopment General. We can figure that out. And then when you want to execute it, it is a yearly contract, but it is set up in a 3-year way, but you annually renew it. So we could do 1 year. We could do
Stop.
2 and stop if we're not happy after 1 year. We could do 2 years and stop after 2 years if we're not happy. The reason it's laid out in a 3 years is because if you think about how long it takes to do a market study, then go out and contact people, then try to find a site and then develop, it's going to take more than 1 year to do that. So in their expert, consulting business, they suggest a 3-year term should you should be able to see results at the end of a 3-year term. If we're successful, if we like the results, then obviously we can continue to renew with them. There would be some discussion, because at some point, the initial study that they would do, in my opinion, would start to lose its luster, and you would have to redo some of those points and retarget what you're going after at some point. But if we're talking about it up front now, I wouldn't say we'd want to go past a 3-year without seeing what kind of results we would have. But certainly within 3 years, if we didn't see any results, we would know whether or not it was successful. Given what I've seen from them, I think 2 things are going to happen. One, you're going to get the statistics that really tell you what our retail market is, regardless of whether anything else happens. 2, you're going to get a list of retail establishments to potentially market to that are being underrepresented within Warsaw. So the 2, no matter what, you end up with 2 things. One, you find out where your gaps are, and then you find out who could fill those gaps. So those are kind of the 2 deliverables in my mind that would be worth some form of funding to establish. I don't know that we're going to find out what we want to find out. Some of these things we're targeting, we'd like to see this, we'd like to see that. I don't know that we're going to find, that the analysis is going to give us exactly what we want, but it will give us where the gaps are at.
Where's this organization?
I think they're out of Alabama. Alabama, yeah.
Alabama. And
Yeah.
they typically do this for municipal.
All across the country.
Jeremy, this is
Yeah, this
really
is
well-
their bread and butter. They go out and they complete these. They are, let me say, they are the opposite. So they're commercial realtors that are no longer trying to develop property, but are trying to help communities understand retail marketing. And then, so all of them have experience and background in retail marketing, retail development, but they felt like there was a gap between what they do on a private side versus what the public gets. And the reality is, I do not have the ability, the expertise, or the time to create a market study for retail in Warsaw. That's what they do. That's where their expertise lies. What we can do is, once they've identified those gaps and identified those individuals to go after, that's where we can get involved and identify properties that we want to redevelop, properties that we want new development, that we can push and target those individuals to.
Jeremy, I am thrilled. You and I have talked about this for
A few times.
for years, over many lunches about this. This is great news. This is really great.
I think it's a good opportunity, but I want you guys to sink your teeth in it. And then certainly if you have some conversations you want to have with me, email me or call me or come sit down with me, and we can rehatch it in April. It's not a small investment. It's a big investment.
Worth every penny.
But it may
my opinion.
be worth every penny. I think, the proof's in the pudding, so to speak. But I like the way it's laid out. I like how they go about the
That's what I was
process.
gonna say, the steps in the packet.
It's not someone throwing a dart at the dartboard and hoping for the best. They have a very specific process they go through, and the analysis that they do creates the target markets that they feel we should be going after. And the other thing I like is this. So as we develop these mixed-use projects, one of the first things the developer says is, I don't have any ability to identify a user for the commercial portions, right? So that becomes a gap right out of the gate. That's a gap that we have to pay for. So we can pay for it smartly by doing this and identifying potential entities that could fit in some of these mixed-use projects, or we can do it blindly by throwing money at somebody and hoping for the best. So I think this would allow us maybe a little bit more accountability on how we're spending our money on some of these mixed-use projects and targeting some commercial and retail vendors for those projects.
So is this just a proposal to this board,
Yes.
or is this already in the works? Or-
This is, what I had told them was I wanted them to send me their process, which is what the first, and then an example of an agreement. So,
Okay.
so you have the process,
Okay,
and then you have an example of an agreement and what it
Okay.
looks like. I have not shown this to Scott. This is probably something I will have Scott review rather than Randy, because it's just a simple contract, professional services agreement. But we would have him review it prior to us. What I want from you is I want you to review this. I want you to tell me, I think this is a good idea, I like what they're doing, or I don't like it, throw it in the trash. And we can discuss it further at our April meeting. If you guys are ready to make a decision at the April meeting, then I can have them go forward and put together a contract to present to you, either in April or May.
so
You tell
I
me
think
what
it's
you're
worth
gonna do.
noting, we just got this at
Yes,
the
I
opening of this
just
meeting,
handed
so
it
none
out
of
to
us
you.
have had a chance to go through this.
And I'm not expecting anything.
Have they, when you've talked to them, have they said anything to you about interaction with us or the community or business owners or
They
retail
will-
shops? Or they'll be up here talking?
They will be up here doing their research. They'll come do a community survey. They'll go through all the existing retail. Yeah, it's pretty in-depth what they do.
Okay,
They are willing to come up here and talk to you guys and present. You tell me what you want to do. This was kind of your first look, your review. You tell me whether you like it, whether you don't like it. I can have them go as far, I can have them come up and present to you. It could just us talking for the first month. And then I can have them say, hey, and go back and negotiate them sending a contract to you, however you guys want to go about it.
Okay.
I'm open to those discussions.
another question. A meeting or two ago, we agreed to hire Hyatt Palma
Yes.
to come up and revamp their study of 20 years ago.
Mhm.
Will there be an overlap here, or will there be any cross?
Some,
Okay.
where the Hyatt Palma will
Or is it
look
two
at,
different areas that we're looking at?
it's not two different areas. So this retail strategy is
Or jurisdiction.
the whole ball of wax. They
Right.
will downtown, retail corridors, it'll be surgical. I mean, if we wanted, I've already talked to them about the Marsh site, about saying, we really, it will be all encompassing. It will
Okay.
not be just one little area here. Oh, what, you got
Downtown.
you got this green site out here, we're gonna do a market. No, this is an entire market study for the entire city, identifying your strengths, your weaknesses, your gaps, and then formulating a market plan to go out after companies that fill those gaps. So, entire ball of wax. The Hyatt Palma is more specific to the downtown. The Hyatt Palma is not a market study. It's not going to look at retail. It's going to be a higher view on, in terms of planning and maybe accomplishing some of the things, your streetscapes, your connectivity, that type of thing.
Okay.
This is specific to retail, a targeted attack on retail and marketing.
Okay,
Two different things.
that's great. Thank you.
Any other questions?
When can we start?
Read it first and then come back.
I pretty much read it sitting here.
Oh,
But
Yeah, I mean, you guys tell me. I mean, we can just, you've got a month to look at it. If you want me to reach out to them to discuss what a contract might look like between now and then, I can do that. Or we can wait until our April meeting, until everybody's looked at this, and I'm open to whatever you guys want to do. I wasn't expecting any kind of vote or any, you say, oh yeah, go forward. I just wanted to get this in front of you today because I got it on Thursday,
okay.
or Friday.
Are there any communities close by that they've worked with, or they give you a list of places where they've?
I got on their website and looked.
Okay, and I
did-
can do the same.
Yeah, I
Okay.
didn't, to me, I was less concerned whether or not they did it close by. I want their process
I
and I
just
want
meant
to
it'd be
know
easy to go
what
and
the end
see.
results are. And that's kind of the conversation I had with them is I'm a results-driven person. So if I'm gonna pay money, I expect something at the end of it. So what's our expectations? What's our deliverables?
And I agree. I just was thinking if they're close by, it would be.
No, I
maybe-
get it, yeah. I didn't, I just looked at their process, spoke to them about what the results, what are we getting? So you're asking me to spend money on you, what are you providing to us?
Okay.
And if you read through their process and then the deliverables, creating the list that we get to say yay or nay, there might be maybe there's things on there that we don't. We have a really good base of local retail establishments. We don't want to go after somebody that's going to compete with somebody that has been around in our community for 100 years. So the fact that they allow us to kind of dictate some of that, I think, is a good thing, because there's probably some local businesses here that we don't want to run out of town by bringing someone else in. So I think there's a lot that goes into retail. There's a lot that goes into marketing. So you really have to look at what you're getting and understanding what the impacts are when you go after some of these things. So.
It looks like they've already done some research. I was
Oh, they were
impressed by
pretty
that, so-
savvy. They were pulling up all the
Yeah,
numbers.
yeah,
And
they
right
were.
there, they have a huge database, because this is their business. So they pay for a lot of information that we don't have access to.
Yeah, that was
Oh, man.
pretty impressive.
Data collection.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're gonna get like a 70-page data report that none of us are gonna know much about, but they will have a conclusion that tells you exactly where your holes are. And just their quick analysis, I mean, it was pretty significant, which it doesn't really surprise us that much. We got Fort Wayne and we got South Bend, and they're siphoning off a large chunk of our retail sales just because they have it and we don't. So I'm not surprised by it by any stretch of the imagination, but it's tens of millions of dollars a year, like 70+ million. It's significant.
And the idea is to identify where that money,
Identify and try to fill
What-
some of
what
those holes.
type
Yeah.
of stores those are.
Yep.
Yeah, I think if the board Mike's really, to start here, if we're still feeling this way a month from now, it might be good to have them come in, talk to your department, the
Yeah,
mayor,
you
and then
tell me
come
what
to
you want
us
to do.
and present.
Yeah,
Maybe
I can.
both two-pronged.
I'm sure I can get them up here if
Mhm.
that's what you guys want. If you want them
At
at the
least
April
maybe
meeting,
first time out of the gate, do a Zoom meeting.
do that too. Tell me what you want to do.
That might be sufficient. Have a
Yeah.
Zoom meeting with them to
Yeah.
discuss with them.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure I can have their marketing team get on, and they can show you kind of the same things they did. They're pulling up maps and identifying, going over their process and how they go about the study itself, and then the strategy. But if that's what you want to do, I'll reach out to them and see if we can't. I believe our meeting in April is the 10th.
So before we approve any of this,
After
do you
spring
think
break.
that would be a good idea to do? Would be to maybe have a virtual meeting with them? They can explain some things that we can chew on before we actually put ink to paper and sign for a contract?
I
Would that be a
definitely
good idea?
think, I definitely think it's worth having a conversation with them before you just blindly agree to
Yes.
something.
Yes.
Like I said, I met with their public relations person and went through the process, and I had gone through their website, kind of done all the things, my own research, and I felt comfortable with what they're presenting. Just the deliverables you get, I think. I like it being more targeted. I like, at the end of the day, I like knowing, here's what we're going to try to go after, and now let's see if we can do it. Rather than just giving me a 70-page report. And I've been through, we've done a few of these, none that I commissioned, but some that have been commissioned in the past. And it's easy to do market studies. The hard part is after the market study. It's really easy to pay someone $60,000, $70,000 to do a market study. But that market study is just numbers on a piece of paper. If you don't do anything with it, then you just wasted $70,000. I don't want to waste $70,000. So at the end of the day, we better have a target. We better know what we're trying to accomplish. And we are contracting with them to go out and accomplish it on our behalf. So they create the list, We tell them yay or nay. Once we've identified it, now it's you go get them here. Rather than just giving us a 70-page report with numbers that doesn't do anything for us. That's the difference. That's why I like what they're presenting. Now, it costs a little bit of money to do that. But, you know, one or two of these retail establishments paying $20,000, $30,000 in taxes a year can pay it off real quick.
So it sounds like you're wanting us to sort of do this to you. You don't want to go any further unless it's pretty solid here.
Yes.
Then you and your department will talk to them more. Mayor would be involved. If you are then satisfied, you may come back to us and say, the redevelopment commission needs to hear more. Whether it's Zoom, like you said, or they come
Yep.
and present. And
Yes.
then we decide, okay, where might we go?
Yeah, I don't think we need, Mike I know wants to go 100 miles an hour. I'm
Right,
okay
that's
either
good.
way,
That's
but
good. But
yes, I'm looking for you guys to tell me, yes, I want more information. Either get them here for a Zoom, or do you want me to get a contract? Whatever, I'm looking for your direction. You tell me. If you want a whole month to think about it, I'm good with that too. I'm not trying to force you to do anything at this point. I'm just telling you, I've been approached by individuals, not just Mike, but others that wanted us to do something. And I've been a little hesitant. Mike knows my feelings on this. But at the end of the day, if we were going to go forward with something, here's a process and a process that creates results, in my opinion, and it's worth money if we were to go after it. So you guys tell me
that's
what direction you want to go.
I'm sensing you're wanting that, so, because it's gonna take you time.
It's gonna take me
along with
time,
the mayor
yeah.
to figure out, do we
Well-
feel more comfortable with it? That's gonna
Yes.
be a lot of work to even come back to us and ask us.
So you tell me.
Tell us what they're
If
thinking.
you want a month to read through everything, I mean,
Yeah.
I'm not trying to force anything.
Mr.
Yeah, Jeremy,
Mayor, would you like
Yeah,
to
there
make
we
a
go.
comment about?
Jeremy presented this to me, and I had a chance to look at it, and there's a little sticker shock for me.
Yeah.
But as I dug into the details, obviously, as Jeremy mentioned, if they can accomplish what you all want to accomplish, I think it makes sense. I would certainly feel much better having a meeting with these folks and hearing a little bit about their methods and their successes. I think that would be good. So the discussion's been good today. I think some type of presentation is very appropriate, so.
I agree. We
You know,
have to decide.
I imagine if we do give them that push, which I think may happen, that would give them time to meet with him. They're gonna come up here.
Well, we can do that
Yeah, that's what I mean. They'd come
presentation
up.
here if you would
But
like.
you guys could meet with them and spend time with them, then that would prep them to come before this board.
Yep.
Share more information, and then allow everybody to think through all of that before any action, but.
Yeah, the thing is, you can go through their website, and every good business is gonna have people that comment on their website about how great they are, right?
Yeah.
So I don't put much stake in, because I have people asking me all the time, hey, can you tell me, yeah, you did a great job for us. So to me, it really comes down to them talking about their process and what makes their process successful. Not whether or not, the mayor of Jonesboro said, oh yeah, they did a great job, we got a, whatever, that it's not relative to Warsaw, because their market and our market are two different animals. So it's got to be the process and them explaining to you what makes their process successful.
Red flag for me, bold print, and I think you mentioned it, help reduce your 70 million in retail leakage. I think it goes back to what you're saying. We're gonna smell, all right, okay, we need to hear more.
Yeah.
All right, that's a big number. Okay, now what are you gonna do if, as the mayor said, we
Yeah, how do
put
you,
some money up
how
front?
do you propose
we
you
would
fill that
learn
gap?
from that,
Yeah.
and know more.
Yeah.
So,
And when we're spending this kind of money, we want to make sure that our guiding principle is that in the best interest of our city of
what's for
Warsaw.
the city, right?
And that's our guiding principle.
But like Mike, I do appreciate you and the mayor willing to present this to us or share with us, because I know it's something that has certainly been
Well-
talked about.
Mike has been one, but quite frankly, there's probably been 4 or 5 people that come to me and saying,
Right.
why aren't you doing this? You're not doing this. And some of it's been hyper-focused, which I didn't like, and me and Mike have had a lot of conversations. This is not gonna be hyper-focused, so I think you set yourself up from failure if you try to focus on one little thing, because it becomes very challenging. If we focus on a larger picture, a bigger picture, we have a better chance of being successful and filling those gaps rather than going down to. But that doesn't preclude us from addressing some of those things that we definitely want to address, like the marsh property. That's going to be in the mix, right? But we're not going to put all of our eggs in that basket and hope for the best. This study is going to be a lot more comprehensive in terms of what we're trying to accomplish. But that'll be a piece of the puzzle.
Yeah.
Okay. Sounds good. Any other questions?
So what's the next step?
Sounds to me like I need to get them down here and give a presentation. I can set up a meeting with the mayor and myself and some of you guys if you want to be on that, or
Oh, yeah.
and we can also set up a presentation to you
To the board
as an
here.
individual.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, let's do that.
So I'll send out some emails and see if we can't get a presentation set up.
Thank you for looking that direction.
They'll know we're serious if we have them up here to
Right.
discuss it. They'll
Yeah.
know we're on the cusp.
There's some interest.
Be happy to come up with that.
Okay. Anything else to come before this illustrious group?
Well, if you thought today was busy, next month's going to be busier. So a lot of irons in the fire.
A lot of good discussion. Very good. Okay,
I move to adjourn.
Jeff moves to adjourn. Do I hear a second? Mike? Second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
We are adjourned. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you, members of the press. Always a pleasure. Well, almost.
Thank my staff.
I know,